Good morning, grade 5s. I hope you are well. Today we are going to be doing social science. So I want you to get your social science book as well as your workbooks ready for geography and history. Okay, now let's start off with geography. You're going to open up on page 33. Now, first of all, you have a test today that I will send on an email. So you can have a look at that test and just do it for me on a separate piece of paper. Don't worry about printing the test. Just write the answers on a piece of paper. That would be fine. Okay, now let's read on page 33. Rivers. Where rivers begin and end. It is easy to see the high and low places on a map when you follow a river from its source in the mountains to the river mouth or where it ends in the sea. This is because water always flows from higher places to lower places. Okay, there are big rivers and tiny streams, fast rivers and slow rivers, muddy waters and clear waters, and they all flow downhill. Now let's look at the new words. A source is the start of something such as a river or a stream. A river mouth is where a river flows into the sea. A stream is a small river. Tributary is a stream or river that flows into a bigger river. A catchment area is the area drained by a river and its tributaries. River systems are all the river streams in the catchment area. The concept of river system. Small streams can join together to become a river. Smaller rivers can flow into bigger rivers. A stream or a river that flows into bigger rivers is called a tributary. A river collects water from its different tributaries. Rivers and streams that join together are all in the same catchment area. They are all in the same big basin of mountains and hills that catch the water as it flows downhill. Together, all the rivers and streams in the catchment area make a river system. Okay, let's go to the next page. This is activity 8. Now check your understanding of the words about rivers. Now, here you have the words, and now you have to fill them in the correct space. Now you can use the information on page 33 to fill this in. Then activity 9 on page 35. Follow the main rivers of South Africa on a map. Use the map above to complete the activity below. Find the Gariep Orange River in the map. In which country is its source? Give the name of 2 of its tributaries. Which province is the South African has the mouth of the Gariep Orange on its borders? Okay, and then number 2, follow the course of the Limpopo River on the map and choose the correct words to fill in the space below. Write only the letter and the answer. So now in this block you're going to choose either A or B. Do you see? You're going to write A, B, C, D, E and F. Then you're going to choose Limpopo or Northwest, Southwest or Northwest, East, West, Swaziland, Mozambique, Olifants, Zambezi, mouth and tributary. Okay, so now you can see you on this picture is the map that's going to help you to identify the rivers, and then there are smaller rivers. So the smaller rivers that flows into the bigger river is called the tributary. Okay, so then the last activity you have to do is you need to find this picture for me in your purple file. Let me show you this one. Then on this, you're basically going to make your own little map, and you're going to write the names of the rivers. So you can use this picture on this page 35 as well as on page 26 to find the river names. Okay, and then you're going to name them for me. Now let's go to history. Now history starts on page 120. Cattle were very important. Now let's quickly look at the new words. Loyal is to be faithful, and then lobola is the price of a bride. Okay, in the traditional African farming communities, the cattle kraal was in the center of the homestead, that we already know. The central cattle kraal was a symbol of the importance of the cattle. So it was in the middle of the homestead, and that showed the importance of the cattle. Cattle were special animals and a symbol of wealth. Like in the Khoi, African farmers only killed cattle on religious occasions. Cattle were slaughtered to celebrate important events and ceremonies that involved the ancestors. Like the San and the Khoi, African farmers also hunted wild game. A decision to kill cattle for meat or hide was taken carefully. Cows that were past breeding age and could no longer produce milk were killed for their meat and hides. Cattle hides were turned into leather for clothing. which were made by men. Cattle were also valuable because they could be loaned to poor families, who would then use the milk products and eventually some of the calves. These families would then be loyal to the wealthy cattle owner. Cattle were also needed for lobola. Now, lobola is a payment in cattle made by a bridegroom to the bride's family before a wedding. If a man had a lot of cattle, he would marry many wives. Wives would give him children and much needed labor. Thus, having cattle made a man more powerful over others. Okay, good. Now let's look at activity 6. Answer these questions. Now you will find the answers obviously in this piece that I just read. Number 1. Who looked after the cattle in the traditional African farming communities? Number 2. What were cattle a symbol of? Number 3. Write down 2 things you can think of that cattle needed to stay healthy. Number 4. Write a short paragraph on what cattle provided, including the following words in your paragraph: meat, milk, hides, loyalty, lobola, and symbols. Okay, now let's look at Unit 6 on page 121. Tools and weapons from iron and copper. Farmers need strong, sharp tools in order to chop down trees and cultivate their fields. Farmers need the right tools. Iron and copper are better for these purposes than bone or stone. Iron Age farmers mined and melted iron ore. Iron Age technology was more effective than Stone Age technology. Iron and copper technology was used to make agricultural tools such as hoes and axes, as well as weapons for hunting wild animals and defenses against enemies. How were iron tools made? Only very skilled worked with iron, which they got from a type of rock called ore. Now that we learned in NST, right? Now men collected ore and found near to the surface of the ground. The ore was melted in a furnace. Then the lump of metal was removed and taken to the metalsmith. The metalsmith would reheat the lump of metal and hammer it into shape to form tools. Now you need to do activity 7 as well. What technology did the African farmers have that the Khoisan did not have? Number 2, look at the photograph on the right. And which of the following activities are the people in the photograph doing? Are they collecting iron ore, melting iron ore, or shaping iron ore? Okay, number 3. What is the name of the person who shaped the iron tools? A metalsmith, a metal Jones, or an iron man? Okay, good. Now the next page, 122, pottery. Now let's quickly look at the new words. Artifacts are things such as tools, weapons, pottery, and buildings which were made by people and provide information about the past. Pottery are pots shaped from moist clay and hardened by heat. Archaeologists study the remains of the past, such as human and animal skulls, bones, and artifacts. Artifacts such as pottery can tell us a lot about a society. Pots were important in the day-to-day lives of farming people. They were used for storing water, milk, and food. They were also used for cooking. Women made pots from clay. Pots had different styles and were painted different colors. Women shaped, decorated, and polished the pots in different ways. Okay. Then there's a picture of the some African women still making pots today. They make them in the same way they did in the past. Then you have to do activity 8 as well. Which of the following statements about the pots are incorrect? Now you're going to write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're going to say whether it's true or false, and if it's false, you need to tell me what is the correct answer. So number 1, pots were used for storing food. Number 2, pots were used for cooking. Number 3, pots were made from clay. Number 4, pots were made by men. Number 5, pots were decorated. Number 6, pots are artifacts. Okay. Then on the last page, second last page, 123, pottery, religion, and the Lydenburg heads. In Lydenburg heads, which you can see in the photograph below, are 2 important artifacts that can tell us a lot about the traditional farming communities. These magnificent pottery artifacts are known as the Lydenburg heads. In the early 1960s, a little boy found a small piece of broken clay object under the ground of Lydenburg in Mpumalanga province. Archaeologists put the pieces together very carefully. When the pieces were put together, they turned out to be a hollow pottery sculpture of a human-like head. The heads can be seen today in the South African Museum in Cape Town. 2 of these human-like heads are big enough to have been worn as masks. The other 5 smaller heads could have been attached to a costume or carried on poles. They were made around 500 AD. Now, ceremonies are public events held at important times in the community's life. The same words are repeated and the same actions are followed. Okay, so a ceremony are past sort of things that happen, events, and the generations after would do that event in the same way. That would then be called a ceremony. Okay, then here's a picture of a specularite in a mineral with a silver color. It glistens when turned in the light. Specularite was placed in part of these clay masks so that the public ceremonies, they would have shimmered when they moved in the light. Okay, then almost finished new words. Initiation is a period of instruction in which teenagers are accepted as adults. Ancestors are the spirits of those who have died. What were the Lindenberg heads used for? Archaeologists believe that other heads like the Lindenberg heads were probably used in initiation ceremonies. Before becoming adults, teenagers went through special initiation ceremonies. In these ceremonies, ancestors were asked to accept these young people as full members of the communities. The heads were used to help contact the ancestors in the spirit world. At the end of the initiation, the heads were broken, buried, and as they were believed to be dangerous. Now, activity 9, your last activity. Order information about the Lindenberg heads. The following sentences about the Lindenberg heads are not written in the order in which the actual events happen. Write these sentences in the correct order under the heading, the Lindenberg heads. So you're going to write the Lindenberg heads, and then you're going to rearrange 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the correct order. And then that is all you have to do for social science for today. So I hope this video helps you, and if you have any questions, feel free to WhatsApp me at any time, or you can leave your questions for our Zoom session. Good luck, guys.